Welcome to Brains, Bibles, and Beyond, where we discuss theology and worldview apologetics. I'm Nate Day with Think Like Christ Ministries, and I'm here with our resident theologian Joel Willoughby with Brains and Bibles.
If you would like more information about our ministries, check out our websites, brainsandbibles.com and thinklikechrist.org. And on whatever platform you are using, please like, share, subscribe, do whatever else you know you should do to help us out.
If you have any questions, send them to podcast@thinklikechrist.org.
And all you budding theologians out there, go grab your favorite theological coffee receptacle and enjoy this episode.
Hey everybody, on today's episode, we are going to be exploring, do animals prove a creator?
Oh, yeah.
So,
It's pretty exciting stuff. Love animals. Who doesn't love animals, right? Okay.
most
so
people
some
do. Most people do. I'm sure there's some who don't, but
In general, I think that creation proves a creator. Okay. But I just, today I thought it'd be really good. It's always fun to kind of get into that Genesis section of things.
Yes.
And I love showing evidence for a creation. I think it's important to say that it's not because of evidence that I believe, but evidence does give us encouragement and confidence in things that are out there.
and it can help corroborate what we do believe.
Yes, and it just helps communicate that this is not some dumb thing.
Yes,
this is
right.
real. There's scientific basis for all this. One thing I like to bring up is actually with mosquitoes, but don't worry, we're talking about killing them.
Yeah. Which is everyone's favorite thing.
Now, I've never had something like malaria before, but I hear it's pretty rough. It's pretty
Yeah.
bad.
I've had friends that have had it and
Is that
it
right?
doesn't sound great.
Yeah. Well, back in the 40s, 1940s here, they were using this stuff DDT. Some people might, that might sound familiar to some people. The DDT came out, and they were using it because that and like typhus. There's other little insect-carried diseases that
Sure.
were going around.
Yeah.
So they were using this stuff, spraying around to kill these mosquitoes, and boy, it worked like crazy. It killed almost like every one of them. Almost every one of them. But then what happened was people kept using it, and less would die. Until it got to the point where mosquitoes weren't really bothered at all by this DDT that normally almost was a complete genocide for the mosquito population. And so what some people would say is, well, that shows that there was evolution. They're saying, look, the mosquitoes evolved to get stronger and be resistant to this stuff. And of course, one of my questions is always, if they died, how do they learn to get stronger? And so if they didn't die, that means they were already strong, you see? And this is part of the creationist perspective here. The ones that the DDT did not kill, they already had the genetic ability to resist it.
They have the resistance already built in.
So
The
then,
ones who lived.
what happens then if the only ones that are alive are the ones that have this DDT resistance? Now, this wasn't the only ones, right? But in these concentrated areas,
Sure.
that was the majority then. So then what happens with the next generation,
They have the resistance.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
It gets passed down.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so, like, normally you'd have, like, strong and weak reproducing. But now they made it so all the weak died, only the strong reproduced. And so then you have these, like, super mosquitoes. They're all resistant to DDT.
And that's what we have now. Thank you, DDT.
Yeah, largely, right? Yeah. But then you always come up with something else, and there's always
Yeah.
this group that survives, And this happens with bacteria. This happens with, you look at your soap. Why doesn't it say kills 100% germs and bacteria? You'll never see that
No, 99.9% every time.
because they know that there is this small minority that they will not die. They're already resistant to it.
Yep.
So then what happens? You kill everything except those super duper strong ones. So then they're looking to reproduce. Guess what they're going to find? Only super duper strong ones. That's why we keep having more sicknesses and everything else too. Anyways, so these mosquitoes are actually a proof of not evolution, but that there was an intelligent creator that made an amazing creation. so that even through all this time, they are still surviving and thriving.
Well, and something to remember too is the ones that live, they didn't turn into a different species.
This is true.
I mean, they're still mosquitoes.
They're still mosquitoes. Yeah.
So they didn't change into something else.
Well, and if and things do speciate.
And in 10 million years, there's still going to be mosquitoes.
Well,
they're not going to change. Most likely when
I hope the Lord returns. Before...
But I mean, that's always the answer. Add more years, and then eventually it'll change to something else. But that's not true. There's still going to be mosquitoes. So it doesn't matter how many kill with DDT. There's still going to be mosquitoes.
There must have been something different about mosquitoes before Genesis 3.
You don't think their whole purpose in life was to suck my blood?
Maybe they ate like fruit nectar or something. I don't know. Or maybe it just didn't bother us. Maybe just like borrow a little bit. I don't know. Who knows?
I'm sure there was a good purpose. Who knows what it was?
There was something there. But that's kind of a cool little thing.
Yeah.
A lot of times I've heard evolutionists use these mosquitoes, the DDT, to say, hey, look, evolution's real. And of course, this happens with all sorts of insecticides even. You talk to the agricultural community, they'll tell you all the time, you got to keep buying new stuff, because they get strong and resistant. Well, are they evolving? No. You killed all the weak ones. Yeah, you created this monster. Okay.
Yeah.
One of my we're talking about animals in general here. So the giraffe, though, I'm gonna get one very specific thing and then talk about some other deals here. So the giraffe, I always think it's a lot of fun because you think about this. Why would it have these super long legs and long neck? Because through the evolutionary process, it would have started out as like sludge, and had to come up, fish, amphibian, reptile, all these things.
Sure on the family tree, but
that's like, that kind of idea.
Yeah, bunch of lions, different animals.
So then what I'm thinking is, if I were to buy into evolution, I would have to believe that there was some kind of like a rodent horse looking thing, and
a rodent horse,
something.
Okay.
Well, we don't have any transitional fossils. It's a big problem. So it's hard to know.
That's true.
Yeah, it's a major problem. But anyways, so you have some kind of a creature, an early giraffe thing, and I imagine that using my sanctified imagination, partially sanctified, that this giraffe is looking up these leaves and thinks to itself, "Man, those things look really tasty."
If only it had a long neck.
If only. Now it has to eat, right, to live. So obviously it's eating enough to survive and everything where it's at. But it's looking up thinking, man, I have a dream that one day I'm going to eat those leaves. And so it, it's trying its hardest and grows about 1/10 of a millimeter, in its lifetime. Well, so it goes home, talks to its kids and it says, kids, he's on his deathbed now. This is like later in life. Mr. Giraffe, he's on his deathbed. He's like, kids, I have a dream to eat those leaves one day. Will you follow my footsteps and grow longer so that one day we can taste these leaves? Someone in our family is going to taste these leaves. So then after, millions of years of generations, and they're passing down this dream and it stays alive the whole time. Finally, there's this giraffe that finally is tall enough and, just barely gets a little, leaf there and then think, well, this tastes just like the leaves down the ground, It was the biggest bummer in the world. So all that worked for nothing. And you know what? It was really strange that about nothing else thought it was worth it to taste those leaves. Why just that one creature? So then you look at it like this way. So the giraffe goes down to the water hole, right? Africa, somewhere around there. Goes down the water hole, gets a little thirsty, and you think he's so tall now, and he leans way down to get a drink. Well, did you know the giraffe heart is like 30 pounds?
Yeah, I've heard that.
It's this gigantic
Never
thing.
actually seen one, but I've heard.
It's amazing. But so our heart is like roughly the size of your fist, the human heart. So it's like roughly the size of your fist.
A little bigger. I got a big heart.
Yeah.
Big heart.
You do.
I got a big heart.
Well, so the giraffe heart's like way bigger.
Okay.
So you think about the power it has. It's like exploding things, And that's exactly what would naturally happen. When that giraffe goes down and take a drink, that heart's going to shoot that blood like a rocket. Because now it has gravity. It has gravity going with it too. And naturally, the giraffe brain would just explode. Done. So then, of course, you know that the giraffe then slowly its brains came back together, and it kind of got on its feet again somehow miraculously, and decided I better do something
But
about
not too
this.
miraculously.
Yeah, because that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
So they would. So he realizes he has to evolve. And that's kind of an interesting thing because with evolution we tend to give it like divine attributes. It decided that kind of stuff.
So the giraffe not drink until. I mean, I'm confused.
Well, it's a big problem. Now,
Oh, I'd say
it's a good thing that we
if you
have.
drink, your head explodes. I don't know how this works. What's the giraffe do today? Do they not drink?
They do drink. They do.
And their head doesn't explode?
It does not explode. Do you know why? It's a really cool little thing. There's actually this special sponge at the back of the giraffe brain, and this special sponge, what it does is it'll absorb all this blood. It comes shooting down. It absorbs in the sponge, so it slowly releases into the brain.
So how many giraffes died before the sponge was evolved?
Well, it would have to literally be all of them. That's the thing. That's the crazy part. So then you think about this, like let's say it didn't have this sponge and somehow it took a drink. Somehow it didn't blow up. You still have another problem. Let's say it sees the lion coming, jerks its head up. Well, I'm not super tall like that. I'm kind of tall, but I'm not super tall like that. And if I'm laying on the ground, like I'm down really low for a while, and I jump up real fast, guess what's going to happen to me?
You get dizzy and fall over.
Get a little lightheaded. I stumble around a little bit. Well, the giraffe would just pass right out. The lion would just have a free meal, just eats it up. So once again, it has to, after it's been digested and excreted, gets itself back together and decides, I got to do something about this, and figure it out. Well, the sponge takes care of that too.
So you're not really painting a very believable picture here for me.
To be an evolutionist takes a lot of faith. I'd say that. Now,
true.
My evolutionist friends, they hate when I say things like that. But I still believe it. I haven't been convinced otherwise yet.
I haven't either.
So then the giraffe, that wonderful sponge, when it jerks its head up, the blood goes into the sponge and slowly comes out of the brain and then slowly goes back into the body. And that's how it doesn't pass out.
That's convenient.
Isn't that cool though?
It
They
is.
can do that? Yeah, it's really cool. But so then, we had a lot of fun with the giraffe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But there's a few other little observations you can make just in general. Think about this. When the giraffe sees that lion, it gets scared. Now, it sees the zebra right over here, but it doesn't care. It doesn't care there's a zebra there.
The zebra's not trying to eat it.
Well, the thing is, for it to learn that, means there had to be
It had been eaten.
there had to been some bad days. Because, there's things where like animals eat things, but don't eat everything. So like other animals know if that animal wants to eat me, if I'm the kind of food that it will eat or not. That's an interesting thing, right? And so the giraffe knows that zebra doesn't want to eat me, but that lion wants to eat me, or at least could. And so
Lion also wants to eat the zebra.
the lion's fair. It doesn't play favorites.
So when the zebra and the giraffe are running away, are they trying to kick each other in the knee?
Because you don't have to run the fastest, right?
And
You just have to outrun the other guy.
you just can't be the slowest.
So the thing with prey and predator is extremely interesting. Because if life just somehow came to be and then somehow just started to sprout around the earth, how can it be that we have perfectly balanced ecosystems around the entire earth? Now, mankind can unbalance and rebalance ecosystems. And so there are some unbalanced ecosystems, but it's because we did something, and through some work, we can actually, fix it. But naturally, left to itself, there are perfect ecosystems all around the earth. How come the predators don't eat so much prey that now there's no food. So all the prey's dead. Then they end up dying because they don't have any food. You know, and everything's just dead. Like, how is there all these ecosystems? You know, and the thing is, like, the prey all has to reproduce way more, but you know, the predators don't reproduce much. Prey always out reproduce predators. If evolution was a thing,
I mean, that brings up
Go ahead.
another thing.
Yeah.
So while this giraffe, Mr. Giraffe, is evolving and creating himself into all these different things, at the same time, and in the same place, Mrs. Giraffe also has to have gone through the same evolution process so that they could meet, so they
Yeah.
could be little giraffe.
right?
So not only does the evolution process have to happen, it has to happen for the male and female,
Yeah,
for there to be reproduction. Over the last 14 billion years, in all of the universe, this has to happen twice for every species in the same time and space.
it actually gets even more complicated than that. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, the odds are difficult to believe.
So
And this is for every species.
if I were, well, actually, so one more thought on the reproduction thing with the ecosystems, and then I'll come exact because it ties in anyways. And I come back to your thought because you have a really good thought there. So, you know, with the prey and predator, there's always this rule. You think of evolution. If I was a predator, I would figure out how to reproduce more. If I was a prey, like if I was some stinking rabbit, I would probably figure out over hundreds of millions of years. I'd probably figure out a
Like
better.
you wouldn't, you'd be dead.
Well, really, that's really
Yeah.
it. But you would think you'd have some better defense system than running diagonally.
Hey, have you ever tried to catch a rabbit?
It only works because they reproduce so much.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them don't make it.
They're good at math. They can multiply.
I forget the statistic, but like the amazingly low percentage of rabbits that actually like live.
Oh, it's insane.
Yeah, it's
You just see the rabbits in my yard. My dog eats them all the time.
it's not good.
Yeah.
One time my boys saved a rabbit.
It happens.
There was this like stray cat,
Ah.
and it would just it was a friendly thing. It just kind of come around, whatever. We didn't really do anything with it. It just came around, and we had tons of rabbits in our yard around there, you know. And you know, cats, they play with their food, right? They
Yeah.
like, it's a bloodbath if they have their way. They like mice or whatever it is. Well, apparently the cat like ran after this rabbit and just started like, you know, chopping it up, passing it back and forth, you know. And so my little boys, pure in heart, pure as the driven snow, they, except for their sinfulness, but they run out, and they're like, ah! You know, they save the rabbit, they scare the cat off. This poor thing,
He didn't want to be saved.
it was now gonna die an even slower death.
He would have been better.
It
to be
wouldn't
lunch.
eat or drink. They put it like in a little box, and they put like grass in there and stuff. And they tried to, you know, it didn't work out. Eventually, it stopped
Didn't make
moving.
it.
Yeah, it took a while.
That happens. It happens.
It took, they had, you know, they learned some lessons that day. Anyways, so why is there not a better defense system? Look at the scorpion, hard skin, like this hard shell. It's got the sharp pinchers. It has the pointy tail, and most of them have venom in it. You know, the rabbit goes, I'm just gonna stick with the running pattern.
Yeah.
You know,
Or hunker down and hide.
it doesn't make any sense. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back to your point though, because you made a really good observation. So the idea is like, let's say existence came from non-existence, which is already too hard. Okay, and let's say
Nothing became something
right, it chose to
and then blew up.
when it didn't exist. Okay, but then eventually you have life coming from non-life. Let's just say that happens too. So somehow, the first moments of life, you have to, and you're already kind of saying this, so I'm just playing off of that, but you have to have a male and a female of the generally the same kind of whatever it is, and a male and a female. It has to know what to get into itself, food, right? Has to know what to get into itself. It has to have the ability to get it into itself. It has to have the digestive system to process it. It has to know what is good to keep in and what is bad to get out. It has to have the processes and know how to get the bad out. It has to have all the basic survival things of like possibly breathing or movement, getting food. You know, there's a couple basic things that have to be there. And then not just that. The male and the female, they have to be male and female because you can't have just male or just female. You can't just be one, you know.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work
real well.
But then they have to
For the
have
most part.
all their reproductive organs, and they have to be completely, fully functional. And they have to be able to find each other. And they have to be able to know how to do everything. And then have the processes to actually sustain the new life that is in them and produce it and take care of it until it's independent. They also have to actually have the desire to reproduce. And that's one thing that's always a sticking point. And I'd probably like to do a longer session on that alone, is the desire to reproduce. And it gets more complicated. Beauty. It's something that only a creator could offer. It doesn't make any evolutionary sense. But so just animals alone, just the existence of animals and how they thrive and how they have these ecosystems. And, you know, as we see, you know, the giraffe and stuff even, it's just, I think, an overwhelming amount of evidence alone that there had to be some kind of creator. Now, of course, we're saying that's Jesus Christ, very specifically.
Yeah.
According to the Bible, accurate piece of history there, Genesis 1 through all of it, and, you know, every bit of it, right? And the whole Bible. And so, you know, I don't want to just, you know, have an intelligent design argument. I always want to make sure we say it's Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's obvious. To us, it's obvious it's intelligent design. Some people don't like to deny that. That's fine. But it's more specific than just intelligent design. We know who the designer was. So it's not just, oh, yeah, there's some intelligence there. Because that could be any variety of things.
It could be anything.
So,
but there has to be
specifically
something.
are saying this was God.
Yeah.
This is the one true God.
There had to be three things: intelligence, will, and ability. Because you had to know something, you had to be able to do something, and you had to want to do something for anything to exist.
Yeah.
And then for that to actually make sense, it's a little bit illogical, but the most logical option is that there was this living being with intelligence, will, and ability that never had a beginning. Because if something always has a beginning, that's also illogical. You can't have an infinite number of first causes, you know.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that was a good talk. We're gonna do more of these like kind of Genesis, like creation, even some flood talks and stuff.
Kind of the first one here, where we're gonna explore some more of these, just working our way through Genesis 1 through 11 for a while. We're gonna take breaks and do other things, but we're gonna hit a few of these. So,
because Genesis 1 through 11 literally explains the world how we see it today.
Yeah, it's foundational to our faith and to the world and everything around us. So, just gonna want to work through a few of these, explore some of them, to have a few discussions, and
It's gonna be awesome.
it
I'm
will
looking
be.
forward to it.
So, we will see you next time.
Next time.